The plasma bolt screamed past Marcus Chen's head as he dove behind a twisted metal wreck. His squad was gone. Dead or scattered, it did not matter now. The only thing that mattered was staying alive. The alien hunters were close. He could hear their clicking sounds as they talked to each other. Their purple blood still dripped from his combat knife. Marcus had killed 3 of them already, but more kept coming. His comm unit was dead. The GPS showed nothing but static. Even his emergency beacon was not working. This planet, Zerion 7, was supposed to be a simple cleanup mission. Intel said the alien resistance was weak. Intel was wrong. Marcus checked his rifle. 12 shots left. Not enough for what was coming. The clicking sounds grew louder. They were hunting him like animals hunt prey. But Marcus Chen was not prey. He was a soldier of the Earth Defense Corps. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion and survived the Jupiter mining wars. These purple-skinned monsters would not be the end of him. He moved low through the ruins of what used to be a city. The buildings here were strange. They looked old, older than the war, older than the aliens who now hunted him. Strange symbols covered the walls. They glowed with a soft blue light that hurt his eyes. The aliens behind him had stopped clicking. That was not good. When predators went quiet, it meant they were ready to strike. Marcus ran. The ground under his feet changed as he ran. It went from hard metal to something softer. The air tasted different here. It had a sweet smell that made his nose wrinkle. The gravity felt lighter too, like he was underwater. Behind him he heard a sound he had never heard before. It was like screaming, but not from pain. It was from fear. The aliens who had been hunting him were afraid of something. Marcus stopped running and looked back. His hunters were gone. In their place was only empty space and those glowing symbols. The symbols were brighter now, and they seemed to move when he was not looking directly at them. He turned around and froze. A wall of black stone stood in front of him. It was smooth and tall, reaching up into the red sky of Zerion 7. But the sky above the wall was different. It was dark purple, almost black, with stars that did not belong to this solar system. On the wall were more symbols. These were different from the others. They looked like warnings. Even without being able to read them, Marcus knew they were telling him to stay away. But going back meant facing the alien hunters. Going forward meant facing the unknown. Marcus Chen had always chosen the unknown. He found a crack in the wall. It was just wide enough for a man to squeeze through. As he pushed through the crack, the air around him changed completely. It became thick and warm, like breathing soup. On the other side was a new world. The ground was made of black glass that reflected his face back at him. Strange trees grew everywhere, but they had no leaves. Instead, they had crystals that rang like bells when the wind touched them. The sky was the color of dried blood, and 2 moons hung in it like watching eyes. In the distance, Marcus could see a structure that made his breath catch in his throat. It was a palace made of what looked like black ice and silver metal. Towers twisted up from it like frozen tornadoes. Light came from inside it, but the light was wrong. It was too bright and too dark at the same time. Marcus had been in many strange places. He had fought in the ice caves of Europa and the gas clouds of Titan. But this place felt different. This place felt like it was watching him. He started walking toward the palace. His boots made no sound on the glass ground. Even his breathing seemed too loud in the perfect silence. As he got closer to the palace, Marcus noticed something that made his skin crawl. There were statues everywhere. They looked like people from different alien races. Some looked like the purple-skinned hunters who had chased him. Others looked like species he had never seen before, but they were not statues. They were too detailed. Too perfect. And when Marcus looked closely, he could see that their eyes still had moisture in them. These were not carved from stone. These had once been alive. A sound echoed across the glass plane. It was like music, but not any music Marcus had ever heard. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The sound came from the palace. Someone or something knew he was here. Marcus checked his rifle again. Still 12 shots. He pulled out 2 grenades from his belt and made sure they were ready. If he was going to die in this place, he would die fighting. The palace doors opened as he approached. They moved without any sound, like they were made of liquid instead of solid matter. Beyond the doors was darkness so complete that Marcus's night vision could not penetrate it. But he could see something moving in that darkness. Something big. Marcus Chen had intruded into the forbidden area. He had crossed into a place where even the most violent aliens feared to go. Now he would learn why. He stepped through the doors and they closed behind him with a sound like breaking glass. There was no going back now. In the darkness ahead, something laughed. The laugh was like silver bells and broken bones. It was the sound of something very old and very dangerous. Marcus raised his rifle and stepped forward into the dark. The hunt was about to begin, but this time Marcus was not sure who was the hunter and who was the prey. The darkness inside the palace was not natural. It moved and flowed like it was alive. Marcus kept his rifle ready as he stepped forward. His tactical lights should have cut through any darkness, but here they only made small circles of light that seemed to get swallowed up. Something brushed against his shoulder. Marcus spun around, finger on the trigger, but there was nothing there, just more darkness. "Welcome, little soldier." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It was female, but not human. It had an accent that sounded like music played backwards. "I have not had a visitor in so very long, especially not one who smells of gunpowder and determination." Marcus did not answer. He had learned long ago that talking to the enemy gave them an advantage. Instead, he kept moving forward, scanning for any sign of movement. "Oh, you are a quiet one. How delicious. Most who enter my domain are screaming by now." A light appeared in front of him. Not electric light, but something that glowed from within. As the light grew brighter, Marcus could see he was in a vast hall. The walls were covered with paintings, but the paintings moved. They showed scenes of battles and wars from across the galaxy. He recognized some of them from his military history classes. In the center of the hall was a throne made from what looked like black bone. And on the throne sat the most beautiful and terrifying creature Marcus had ever seen. She was tall, maybe 7 feet, with skin that was pale blue like moonlight on water. Her hair was silver and moved even though there was no wind. She wore armor that looked like it was made from midnight itself, and her eyes were the color of fresh blood. When she smiled, Marcus could see teeth that were too sharp and too white. "I am Empress Vorthak," she said, standing up from her throne. "I am the Sanguine Empress. I am the death that waits in the dark between stars. And you, little human, have wandered into my web." Marcus raised his rifle and aimed it at her chest. "Stay back!" The Empress laughed, and the sound made the crystal trees outside ring like bells. "Oh, how wonderful! You point your little weapon at me as if I were some common enemy, as if I were one of those pathetic purple creatures who were hunting you." She took a step forward. Her feet did not touch the ground. "Do you know what those creatures call this place, human? They call it the feeding ground. They know better than to enter here. They know that I am hunger itself. I am the end of all things." I said, "Stay back." Marcus kept the rifle trained on her. His hands were steady. They had been steady when he fought the mining pirates on Ceres. They had been steady when he held the line at New Geneva. They would be steady now. The Empress tilted her head like a bird studying a bug. "You are not afraid." How strange. Fear is the spice that makes the feeding so much sweeter. Without fear, you are just meat and bone. She moved. 1 second, she was 10 feet away. The next second, she was right in front of him, her hand reaching for his throat. Marcus fired. The plasma bolt hit her in the chest and threw her backwards. She crashed into her throne with a sound like breaking glass. For a moment, she just lay there, and Marcus thought he had killed her. Then she started laughing again. "Impressive. Your weapons have more bite than I expected." She stood up, and Marcus could see a smoking hole in her armor. Underneath was skin that was already healing itself. "It has been centuries since anyone has managed to wound me." She raised her hand, and Marcus felt something grab his mind. It was like icy fingers pushing into his thoughts. Images flashed in his head. Images of his childhood on Earth, his training on Mars, the friends he had lost in battle. "Let me taste your memories, little soldier. Let me feed on your pain." Marcus gritted his teeth and fought back. The Earth Defense Corps had trained him to resist mental attacks. Some alien species used psychic weapons. He had learned to build walls in his mind. The Empress frowned. "How are you doing that? Your species should not be able to resist my touch." Marcus fired again, then rolled to the side as she flew toward him. Her claws missed his head by inches. He came up firing, walking backwards toward the doors. "Running already? But we were just getting to know each other." She appeared in front of him again, but this time Marcus was ready. He pulled the pin on a grenade and threw it at her feet. The explosion lit up the entire hall and knocked them both down. When the smoke cleared, the Empress was sitting on the floor, looking at him with something that might have been respect. "Fascinating. You fight like you actually expect to win." Marcus reloaded his rifle. I do expect to win. Against me? I am older than your species, human. I was feeding when your kind was still learning to make fire. I have killed gods and emperors. I have watched entire civilizations rise and fall. Then you should know that humans are hard to kill. The Empress stood up and dusted off her armor. Indeed, I am beginning to see that. She walked back to her throne and sat down. Tell me your name, little soldier. Sergeant Marcus Chen, Earth Defense Corps. Marcus Chen. She said his name like she was tasting it. I have a proposition for you, Marcus Chen. You have entertained me more than anyone has in 1,000 years, so I will give you a chance. Marcus kept his rifle aimed at her, but he listened. Survive in my domain for 3 days. If you can do that, I will let you leave. You can go back to your little war and tell your people about the terrible Empress Vorthak. And if I do not survive, her smile was all teeth, then I will add you to my collection. You will stand with all the others who thought they could challenge death itself. Marcus thought about the statues outside, all those people who had been turned to stone, all those people who had failed. What do you say, Marcus Chen? Will you accept my challenge? Marcus looked at her sitting on her throne of bones. He looked at the moving paintings on the walls. He thought about his squad, dead or scattered. He thought about the war raging outside this strange place. Then he thought about something his drill sergeant had told him on his first day of training. A soldier never backs down from a fight, especially when the odds are bad. Marcus lowered his rifle just enough to show he was not going to shoot right now. But he kept it ready. 3 days? 3 days, and if I win, you let me go. If you win, I will let you go. You have my word. Marcus Chen had been in worse spots before. At least he thought he had. All right, Your Majesty. You have got a deal. The Empress clapped her hands together and the sound echoed through the hall like thunder. Wonderful. Oh, this will be such fun. It has been so long since I had a proper game. The doors behind Marcus opened by themselves. Your 3 days begin now, Marcus Chen. Try not to die too quickly. I want to savor this. Marcus backed toward the doors, keeping his rifle ready. As he reached the threshold, the Empress called out to him one more time. Oh, and Marcus, do try to make it interesting. I do so hate being bored. Marcus stepped out of the palace and the doors closed behind him with a sound like a tomb sealing shut. The hunt had begun. The first night was the worst. Marcus had found shelter in what looked like the ruins of an ancient building. The walls were made of the same black glass as the ground, but they were cracked and broken. It was not much protection, but it was better than being in the open. He had tried to sleep, but sleep would not come. Every time he closed his eyes, he could feel something watching him. When he opened them, shadows moved just at the edge of his vision. The Empress was playing with him. Around midnight, the whispers started. They came from inside his head, but he knew they were not his thoughts. They spoke in voices he recognized. His mother, his brother who had died in the asteroid belt, his commanding officer from his first deployment, Marcus. His mother's voice said, "Why did you leave us? Why did you go to war?" "You could have saved me," his brother whispered. "You could have been there. You are a failure as a soldier," his CO's voice accused. "You let your squad die." Marcus pressed his hands against his ears, but the voices did not stop. They got louder and more insistent. "I know what you are doing," he said out loud. "This is not real." The whispers stopped for a moment. Then the Empress's voice filled his head. "Oh, but the pain is real, is it not? The guilt you carry? The knowledge that you have failed so many times?" Marcus stood up and grabbed his rifle. "Show yourself." "I am everywhere, Marcus Chen. I am in your thoughts. I am in your fears. I am in every shadow and every doubt." Something moved in the darkness outside his shelter. Marcus aimed his tactical light at it, but there was nothing there. "Tell me about Earth," the Empress's voice continued. "Tell me about your wars. Your species fascinates me. Most creatures fight for territory or food, but humans fight for ideas, for concepts that have no physical form." Marcus did not answer. He had learned that responding to the enemy during psychological warfare only made it worse. "I have been reading your mind while you sleep," she said. "Such interesting memories. You fought in a rebellion on Mars because you believed in freedom. You nearly died defending a mining station because you believed in duty. You have killed hundreds of beings because you believed it was right." The voice seemed to come from right beside his ear now. "But what if you are wrong? What if your cause is not just? What if you are just a killer who has convinced himself he is a hero?" Marcus closed his eyes and did the breathing exercises they had taught him in training. In for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Out for 4 counts. The voices began to fade. Impressive, the Empress said. Your mind is stronger than I expected. But I have 3 days to break it. And I have had a very long time to perfect my methods. The second day brought new challenges. Marcus woke up to find that his shelter had changed during the night. The walls were covered with images of everyone he had ever killed. They moved and spoke, accusing him of murder. Their wounds were fresh and bleeding. He ignored them and stepped outside. The landscape had changed too. Where before there had been crystal trees, now there was a maze made of mirrors. Each mirror showed a different version of himself. In one he was a hero covered in medals. In another he was a broken old man dying alone. In a third he was a monster with blood on his hands. Marcus smashed the first mirror with the butt of his rifle. The sound echoed through the maze like a scream. Destroying them will not make the truth go away, the Empress's voice said. Marcus ignored her and kept walking. He had a mission now. Survive for 3 days. Everything else was just noise, but the maze seemed to go on forever. Every turn led to more mirrors and more versions of himself. Some were flattering. Some were horrible. All of them were designed to make him stop and think about who he was. By noon, Marcus realized he was walking in circles. The Empress was controlling the maze, changing it as he moved through it. You cannot win by force here, she said. This is my domain. The rules are mine to make. Marcus stopped walking and sat down on the glass ground. He pulled out a ration pack and started eating. What are you doing? The Empress asked. Eating lunch. You should be trying to escape the maze. Why? You will just change it again. Marcus took another bite of his ration. It tasted like cardboard, but it was food. I figure I will wait until you get bored. There was silence for a long moment. You are not playing the game correctly, the Empress said, and for the first time she sounded confused. I am not playing your game at all, Marcus replied. I am playing my own game. The mirrors around him began to crack. Then they shattered, falling to the ground like rain. When the mirror pieces stopped falling, Marcus found himself back on the glass plane. The palace was visible in the distance. Interesting, the Empress's voice said. Very interesting indeed. That night she appeared to him in person. Marcus was sitting by a small fire he had made from broken crystal. The flames were blue instead of orange, but they gave off heat. He was cleaning his rifle when she materialized out of the shadows. You are not like the others, she said, sitting down across from him. Marcus did not look up from his weapon. What others? The ones who came before you. The warriors and heroes and kings who thought they could challenge me. They all tried to fight the maze. They all tried to break the illusions with force. And that did not work. No, it fed my power. Fear and anger and desperation are like wine to me. The more they struggled, the stronger I became. Marcus finished cleaning his rifle and looked at her. In the firelight, she looked less terrible and more tired. But you just sat down and ate lunch, she continued. You ignored everything I showed you. How? Training, Marcus said simply. Training. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We have learned a few things about psychological warfare. First rule, do not let the enemy control the battlefield in your head. The Empress leaned forward. And what is the second rule? Sometimes the best way to win is not to play. She was quiet for a long time, staring into the blue flames. I have been alone for so long, she said finally. Do you know what that is like? Marcus thought about his long deployments in space. Months alone in a fighter cockpit. Years on remote stations with only a few other soldiers. Yeah, he said. I know. Everyone who comes here wants something from me. They want my power, or my knowledge, or they want to kill me to prove they are brave. But you, she looked at him with those red eyes. You just want to survive. That is the job. The job? I am a soldier. My job is to complete the mission and get home alive. Everything else is extra. The Empress laughed, but it was different from before. Less terrifying and more genuine. You know, Marcus Chen, I think you might actually survive your 3 days. I plan to. She stood up and started to fade back into the shadows. One more day, she said. Try not to disappoint me. After she was gone, Marcus added more crystal to his fire and settled down to sleep. Tomorrow would bring the final test. But tonight, for the first time since entering this place, Marcus felt like he might actually make it home. The whispers in his head were quiet, and his dreams were his own. The third day began with an earthquake. Marcus woke up as the ground shook beneath him. The crystal trees around his camp were ringing like alarm bells. In the distance, the palace was glowing brighter than before. Something was wrong. Marcus packed his gear quickly and started moving toward higher ground. The glass plane was cracking and strange green light was seeping up through the cracks. Marcus. The Empress's voice reached him, but it sounded different. Urgent, maybe even afraid. She appeared next to him in a flash of silver light. For the first time since he had met her, she looked worried. "We have a problem," she said. "We? My domain is under attack. Something is trying to break in from the outside." As if to prove her point, the sky above them split open like torn paper. Through the gap, Marcus could see the red sky of Zarian 7. And coming through the gap were ships, alien ships, the same purple-skinned creatures that had been hunting him. "How did they find this place?" Marcus asked. "They followed your trail," the Empress said. "Your species leaves psychic footprints. They tracked you right to my doorstep." The ships were firing now. Energy beams lanced down from the sky, hitting the glass plane and turning it to steam. Marcus could see troops dropping from the ships. "Hundreds of them. Can you stop them?" The Empress shook her head. "My power works on individuals. Fear, mind control, illusion. But there are too many of them, and they are staying together. Their group mind is protecting them from my abilities." More ships came through the gap in the sky. Marcus counted at least 20, maybe more. "They will destroy everything," the Empress said. "My palace, my domain, all of it. And when they are done, they will hunt down every human in this sector. Your people will be marked for extinction." Marcus checked his rifle. Still 6 shots left from yesterday. He had 2 grenades and a combat knife. "Against hundreds of alien soldiers, what do you need me to do?" he asked. The Empress stared at him. "You would help me? After everything I put you through. You said they would hunt down my people. That makes them my enemy." She smiled, and for the first time her teeth did not look scary. They looked grateful. "There is a way," she said. "But it is dangerous. For both of us. Tell me. I can share my power with you. Make you faster, stronger, harder to kill. But it means linking our minds. You would feel everything I feel. See everything I have seen." Marcus thought about it. Sharing minds with an alien vampire queen was not in any military manual he had read. "What is the catch? If I die while we are linked, you die too. And if you die," she shrugged, "I will be weak enough for them to kill." Another energy beam hit the ground near them, turning a crystal tree to vapor. "Not much choice," Marcus said. "Do it!" The Empress reached out and touched his forehead. Lightning ran down his spine. Suddenly, Marcus could see everything. He could see the alien soldiers moving across the glass plane. He could feel their fear and their anger. He could sense the commanders in the ships above coordinating the attack, but he could also see deeper. He could see the Empress's memories stretching back thousands of years. Wars between species he had never heard of, the rise and fall of galactic empires, the loneliness of being the last of her kind. "I am sorry," she whispered in his mind. "I did not mean for you to see all of that." "It is okay," Marcus replied, surprised to find that he meant it. Everyone has scars. The alien soldiers were getting closer. Marcus could see their tactics now, through the Empress's enhanced senses. They were moving in standard search and destroy formation. They expected to find a single target to eliminate. They were not ready for a coordinated defense. "Can you control those statues outside your palace?" Marcus asked. "The ones who challenged me?" "Yes, why?" "Wake them up." "All of them," the Empress smiled. "Oh, you are devious. I like that." Across the glass plane, the stone figures began to move. Warriors from a dozen different species stretched and flexed, their stone skin becoming flesh again. They had been sleeping for centuries, but now they were awake and angry. The alien soldiers stopped their advance, confused by this new threat. "Now what?" the Empress asked. "Now we hit them from behind while they are distracted." Marcus felt power flow through him. His muscles felt like steel cables. His reflexes were lightning fast. His rifle felt light as a feather in his hands. They moved like shadows across the battlefield. The alien soldiers were focused on the awakened statues in front of them. They never saw Marcus and the Empress coming from their flank. Marcus opened fire. His first shot took out a squad leader. His second shot hit a heavy weapons operator. The Empress moved like liquid death, her claws cutting through armor like paper. The aliens tried to turn and face this new threat, but they were caught between two forces. The awakened warriors pressed from the front while Marcus and the Empress struck from the side. It should have been a slaughter, but the aliens were not stupid. Their commanders in the ships above saw what was happening and adapted quickly. Energy beams started falling from the sky, targeting the awakened warriors. "They are going to glass the whole area," Marcus said as a beam vaporized 3 warriors at once. "We need to take out those ships," the Empress replied. "How? We cannot fly," the Empress grinned. "Who says we cannot fly?" She grabbed Marcus around the waist and launched them both into the air. The shared power between them made them faster than any aircraft Marcus had ever flown. They shot up toward the nearest ship like a missile. The ship's point defense systems opened fire, but Marcus and the Empress were too fast and too small to hit. They slammed into the ship's hull with the force of a bomb. Marcus planted his last grenade on the ship's main engine while the Empress tore open the bridge with her bare hands. They were back in the air before the ship exploded. "1 down," Marcus said. 19 to go, the Empress replied. They hit the second ship before its crew knew what was happening. Marcus had run out of grenades, but the Empress's claws could cut through any armor. They carved their way through the ship's critical systems like surgeons. The third ship tried to ram them. Marcus and the Empress separated, coming at it from 2 directions. The ship could not target both of them at once. By the time they destroyed the 5th ship, the remaining alien fleet was retreating. "Should we chase them?" Marcus asked as they landed back on the glass plane. "No," the Empress said. "Let them go. Let them tell their people what happened here. Let them spread the word that humans and the Sanguine Empress are allies now." Marcus looked around the battlefield. The awakened warriors were standing among the wreckage, victorious but confused. The glass plane was scarred with craters, but the palace still stood. "Is it over?" he asked. "This battle, yes. But I think our war is just beginning." The Empress released the mental link between them, and Marcus felt the power drain away. He was just human again, tired and sore from the fight. "Your 3 days are up," she said. "Yeah, I noticed. You could stay, you know. I could make you immortal. We could rule this domain together." Marcus looked at the alien ships burning in the distance. Then he looked at the gap in the sky where he could see the red sky of Zerion 7 and the war that was still raging. "Thanks, but I've got a job to finish." The Empress nodded like she had expected that answer. "Of course you do. You are a soldier." She waved her hand, and the awakened warriors began turning back to stone. But their faces were peaceful now, not frozen in fear. "Will I see you again?" Marcus asked. "Oh yes," the Empress said. "I think our paths will cross again very soon. The galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place." She opened a portal in the air. Through it, Marcus could see the battlefield where his squad had been scattered. It looked like the fighting was over. "Go home, Marcus Chen, but remember our bargain. You help me when I need it, and I help you when you need it." Marcus stepped toward the portal, then stopped and looked back. "What is your real name?" "Not the title." "Your actual name," the Empress smiled. "Zara. My name is Zara." "See you around, Zara." "See you around, Marcus." Marcus stepped through the portal and back into his own war. But he was not the same soldier who had fled into the Forbidden Area 3 days ago. Now he had an ally. A very powerful, very dangerous ally. And the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months had passed since Marcus Chen walked out of the Forbidden Area. The war had changed. The purple-skinned aliens, who called themselves the Kreks, had stopped their aggressive expansion. Their raids became defensive actions. Their attacks became retreats. Word had spread across the galaxy about what happened on Zerion 7. The humans had made an alliance with the Sanguine Empress. The Death Goddess herself now fought alongside the soldiers of Earth. Marcus stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Perseverance, watching the stars. He wore the uniform of a major now. His actions on Zerion 7 had earned him a promotion and a new assignment. He was the official liaison to their new ally. "Sir," his aide said, "we are receiving a transmission from the Nexus system." "It is her," Marcus nodded. "Put it through!" The main screen shimmered and Zara's face appeared. She still wore her armor of midnight, but she looked different, less isolated, more connected to the world around her. "Hello, Marcus," she said. "I hope you are well." "I am good, Zara. What is the situation?" "The Kreks have allied with 3 other species. They are calling themselves the Purification Coalition. Their goal is to eliminate what they call unnatural alliances from the galaxy." Marcus smiled grimly. "They mean us, indeed. They have assembled a fleet of over 500 ships. They plan to attack the Sol system directly." Behind Marcus, his bridge crew went quiet. "An attack on Earth was every human's worst nightmare." "When?" Marcus asked. 3 days. They are gathering at the edge of your solar system now. Marcus turned to his communications officer. Get me Admiral Hayes' emergency channel. While he waited for the connection, Marcus looked back at Zara. What can you bring to the fight? I have been busy these past months, she said. I have awakened others like myself. Old powers that have been sleeping for centuries. We are few, but we are mighty. How few? 12. But Marcus, we 12 have power enough to tip the balance. The question is whether your people can trust us. Marcus knew what she meant. Even after 6 months, many humans were uncomfortable with their alliance. Having an alien vampire queen as an ally was hard to explain to the folks back home. Admiral Hayes appeared on a smaller screen. Major Chen, report. Admiral, we have intel on a major attack against Earth. 500 enemy ships 3 days out. The Admiral's face went pale. How reliable is this intelligence? Marcus looked at Zara on the main screen. Very reliable, sir. It comes from our special ally, the Empress? Hayes had been briefed on the alliance, but he still sounded uncomfortable. Can we trust her? Yes, sir. She has never lied to me. Hayes was quiet for a moment, running calculations in his head. We have maybe 200 ships in the Sol defense fleet. Even with our allies from the Mars colonies and the outer stations, we are outnumbered 2 to 1. That is why we need the Empress and her people, Marcus said. And they are willing to fight for Earth? Marcus looked at Zara. She nodded. Yes, sir. They are willing. Hayes made his decision. Very well. Coordinate with the Empress. I want to know everything about this enemy fleet. Numbers, weapons, tactics, everything. Yes, sir. Hayes cut the connection. Marcus turned back to Zara. You heard him. What can you tell us about the enemy? Zara's image shifted as she accessed data from her network of spies and allies. The Kreks are leading the coalition, but they have brought friends. The Vorth, who use plasma weapons, the Zalani, who specialize in boarding actions, and the Kree, who have heavy assault ships, mixed fleet. That makes coordination difficult for them. Yes, but they have numbers, and they are motivated by fear. Fear of what? Fear of change. For thousands of years, the galaxy has been organized around the principle that some species are naturally superior to others. Humans challenge that principle simply by existing. Marcus understood. Humans did not bow to superior technology or psychic powers. They adapted and fought back. They made allies instead of servants. Where do you want to make our stand? Marcus asked. Jupiter. The gas giant will provide cover and limit their ability to use superior numbers. I will relay that to Admiral Hayes. 3 days later, the human fleet gathered near Jupiter. 200 ships of various sizes, from massive battleships to small fighters. It was the largest fleet Earth had ever assembled, but it still looked small compared to the enemy force that came out of hyperspace. The Purification Coalition ships filled the space around, Jupiter like a swarm of angry insects. Their formation was perfect, their coordination flawless. Marcus stood on the bridge of the Perseverance, watching the enemy deploy. His ship was part of the forward screen along with 50 other vessels. All ships, this is Admiral Hayes. The command frequency crackled. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the principle that all species can choose their own destiny. Today we show the galaxy that humans do not surrender. Marcus felt pride swell in his chest. Then he felt something else. A familiar presence touching his mind. Hello, Marcus. Zara. Where are you? Closer than you think. Look to your starboard. Marcus turned and looked out the bridge windows. Space seemed to ripple like water disturbed by a stone. Then 12 shapes materialized out of nothing. They were not ships in any traditional sense. They looked like living creatures made of metal and shadow. Each one was unique, shaped by the personality and power of its ancient pilot. Zara's ship was the largest. It looked like a massive bird of prey with wings that seemed to be made of starlight. Impressive, Marcus said. We have had time to prepare. Are you ready, Marcus Chen? Marcus looked at his crew. They were young, most of them, barely out of training, but they had volunteered for this mission. They believed in what they were fighting for. We are ready. The enemy fleet began to move. The Krek ships took the center, their purple hulls gleaming in the light of Jupiter's storms. The Allied ships spread out on the flanks, creating a massive hammer that would crush the human fleet. All ships, Admiral Hayes broadcast. Execute Plan Delta. Show them what humans can do. The human fleet scattered. Instead of meeting the enemy head-on, they split into small groups and disappeared into Jupiter's atmosphere. The gas giant's storms would hide them from sensors and make targeting difficult. The enemy fleet hesitated. This was not what they had expected. Now, Zara said. The 12 ancient ships struck. They did not attack the enemy formation directly. Instead, they appeared throughout the enemy fleet, targeting command ships and communication relays. Chaos spread through the coalition ranks as their coordination broke down. Marcus watched a Krex battleship simply disappear as one of Zara's allies engulfed it in shadow. Another enemy ship froze solid as another ancient being turned its hull to ice. Phase 2, Admiral Hayes ordered. The human ships emerged from Jupiter's clouds like sharks rising from the depths. They struck at the confused enemy formations with precision and fury. Marcus's ship joined a squadron attacking a group of Vorth plasma ships. The enemy vessels were powerful, but they had been designed to fight in formation. Alone, they were vulnerable. Target their plasma conduits, Marcus ordered. Take out their main weapons. The Perseverance dove beneath the enemy formation, its guns targeting the glowing energy lines that fed the Vorth weapons. Explosions lit up space as the alien ships lost their main armament. Across the battlefield, the human fleet was doing what it did best. They were adapting. They were improvising. They were turning the enemy's strength against itself, but the coalition had numbers. For every enemy ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. Marcus, Zara's voice reached him. We need to end this quickly. My people are powerful, but we are few. We cannot sustain this level of combat for long. Marcus looked at the tactical display. The battle was turning into a grinding fight of attrition. That was exactly what the humans could not afford. What do you need? He asked. A target. Something that will break their will to fight. Marcus studied the enemy formation. There in the center, protected by layers of escorts, was a massive ship. It was easily twice the size of any other vessel in the fleet. The command ship, he said. Take out their leadership. It is too well defended. We would need a distraction. Marcus made a decision that would have gotten him court-martialed 6 months ago. I will give you one. Take my ship. Marcus, no. That is suicide. Not if you are with me. Marcus turned to his crew. All hands prepare for emergency evacuation. We are going to ram the enemy flagship. His bridge crew stared at him in shock. Sir, his tactical officer said, that ship has enough firepower to vaporize us before we get close. Not if we do it right. Marcus opened a channel to Zara. Can you shield us during the approach? Yes, but only for a few minutes. That is all we need. The evacuation took 3 minutes. The entire crew, except for Marcus, transferred to other ships. He would make the final run alone. Marcus. Admiral Hayes' voice crackled over the comm. What are you doing? What needs to be done, sir? Marcus felt Zara's power wrap around his ship like armor. On the tactical display, the enemy flagship grew larger as they approached. Energy beams lanced out from the massive ship, but they passed through the Perseverance without effect. Zara's shields held. 30 seconds, Marcus said. Marcus. Zara's voice was soft in his mind. It has been an honor. Same here. The enemy ship filled his view screen. Marcus could see aliens running across its bridge, panic in their movements. 10 seconds. Marcus, wait. Zara's voice was urge.